important but overlooked. All right, now we're going to talk about one of the most important but overlooked blocks in the power, in the counter, in the buck, any gap down scheme, the backside tackle, the gap hinge by the backside tackle. Okay, we call it gap flip because I want to stress to those guys how important this, which I do too. All right, watch this guy. So he didn't get his gap. It was a well blocked play on the front side. See, he just waited to see what the guy did. Here's what I'm talking about. The guy's head up. And this kid, he's not being lazy. He just thinks he's being smart. He goes, I'm going to wait and see which way he goes. Because if he goes this way, I'll just turn out on him. He goes in here, I'll get him. The thing is, if he pins his ears back and all he wants to do is get his head and shoulders into that B gap, and you're waiting to be reactive instead of proactive, this is what's going to happen. He just pops up and looks at him. What he needs to do is step his happy butt in there on the snap and shut that off. And then don't let it cross his face. We gained 3, 4, 5 yards? I don't know. But that was a touchdown. Look at it again. That's a touchdown. Good wrap. I'll come back to that wrap in a minute. We're talking about wrapping. See? That might be a touchdown. Dang sure going to be a first down. That's first down marker right there. Okay? Let's see this guy do it pretty well right here. He doesn't wait to see what they do. He gets into the gap. That's why I call it gap, flip. Gap, flip. Stress to him how important getting in the gap is. Okay? And there's a reason why these cats won the Joe Moore Award for 2022. This one's on the left. Watch the left tackle shut off number 44. Right here, 76. Okay? All right, and there's the right tackle again, 71. And this is when it jumps. I don't know why it jumps. I went back and checked. It jumps on the master too. Okay, but this guy right here is trying to run through. And he's so close to the wall that's created by the front side. This guy 71 comes all the way down just to the wall. Okay, watch it again. The wall that's created. See, he comes all the way down to the wall. Look at the back blocks and down blocks. Look where he joins. He gets all the way down to the center. See where the center is? That's a good gap hinge. All right, and I'm not going to insult your intelligence and go through this. This is a series of diagrams showing you how to work the gap hinge drill and you need to work all these scenarios. I mean, I know you probably can't work them every day, but in the course of a week, all these scenarios, and it could be based on the film study that week, like the team you're playing. You want to work against fours and 4 eyes if it's an odd front team. And all they ever do is odd front. If it's an even front team, you want to work against overs and unders. Okay, threes and shades, 3s and 2 eyes to the back side of the play. But these guys need to do that. This is kind of stuff that you do during kickoff and kickoff return and punt return where your linemen aren't in there. So, look, I got 3 tackles over there chilling. Come over here. Let's go. And you work this stuff. You got to work it every week. Okay, and here it is. This guy's slanting inside. Well, you can't get to him. Okay, and the center will block back on him if he squeezes like this when the OG pulls. Okay, and this is just a cone, and you just work on those steps. It's got to be muscle memory. They know they got gap, flip on their rule. And remember what I talked about dashes. Gap, dash, flip. I say flip for flip your hips. Well, you've told them go through your progression, step into the gap, What's the next in the progression? The word gap again. Stay in your gap. Now flip your hips. Gap, gap, flip. Well, now here it is versus a three tech that's trying to penetrate and run up field. I did it versus, this is like a 3-4 with the linebacker walked up. This here is like a split four with a three tech and a five tech right here. If that three tech is just trying to penetrate, step on down in there. Okay, step on down in there, because if he's in the B gap, that means this cat's coming, or this cat's coming off the edge. And what you get, you slow that joker down, and then here comes your center. Okay, blocking back to get him, and then you can flip your hips and make this guy run around you. And once he runs around, then he doesn't have a chance. And if he does, you need a new running back because he's too cockeyed slow. All right, now here it is against a four. Okay, don't remember we talked about this a little bit in the session. The study done by I think it's Zwick, the zone guy up in Wisconsin, a D3, D2 school up there, that when they're head up in college football, they're 50-50 players. Okay, I think it's the same for high school. Now, when they're on a shoulder, he said they're more like 70-30. They're going to be in that gap. You don't get a lot of gap exchange at the high school level, or some people call it spiking or slicing across the face to another gap from the one you're lined up in. You don't get that a lot. But when they're head up, like a four tech or a two tech, they're 50-50 players. So we got to go, what is the worst case scenario? Him beating me inside. So I don't wait to see what he does like you saw on the film. You got to step in there, gap, gap. As soon as the ball is snapped, shutting off that inside gap. And then if the guy runs upfield, flip your hips and make him run around. You've got to step inside on the snap. And if he's trying to fight through here, you just keep working down until you join the wall that's been created by the front side down blocks. Okay. All right. Do not chase the four tech inside. Chase the four tech outside. And this is what happens a lot with high school linemen. They start thinking, this is my guy. The end's my guy. No, he's not. You got to stress to them they don't have a man. They've got a gap that they've got to shut off. Shutting off the B gap, that's their prime objective when their rule is, in my way of thinking, gap, gap, flip. You may just say gap hinge. They've got to shut off that gap inside of them before they flip their hips, because a lot of 3-4 teams and 3-3 teams will play games with you, and they'll put him head up, make you think he's coming in here. All right, and then he goes out. And when you go out, here comes that linebacker doing that wraparound stunt, that X stunt. And that's nasty. We call it an X stunt. They may do it from here. Okay? He may line up head up, and he comes inside, he comes outside. Whatever he does out here is irrelevant. It's kind of like the blinder thing. You've got a gap you're responsible for, what you got to stress. So if that DN in a four tech, or whatever tech he's in, I don't care. If he pinches inside, you got to fight inside. Get your tackle to fight inside and shut off that gap inside of them. In this case, we're talking B gaps, and not let anything come through there unmolested. It's got to be, you got to aggravate them. If you just make them run upfield a little bit, you should be gone on the front side. All right, teach your OTs, they do not have a man. They have a gap. Look right here, this is 3-3, and this is a great stunt. The 3-3 teams do, because it causes all kind of confusion and messes with high school linemen. You've got to teach them, shut off that gap. That linebacker comes, now he's yours. That D lineman goes out there, he's not yours. It's just like the blinder on the front side. You got to have a blinder to what's outside of you because you got that gap inside. Okay? Heck, the gap scheme was the first zone scheme. Okay, we're not doing the zone steps and everything they do on inside zone and outside zone, but they got a zone they're responsible for, and that zone is their gap. And they've got to shut it down first and foremost. Okay. I see here you see what they do with the DN pinches on that 3-3. They got the gap. They're not worried about what's outside. Okay. He goes out here, fine. He comes in here. I got him because I'm in the gap. Kind of like I told him about when they're blocking down. Jesus comes back during that play, he better find you blocking down. Jesus comes back during this play and you're the backside, he better find you in that cockeyed gap. Okay? Versus 5 tech, it's easy. All right, don't assume you're going to get him and just fire out here. Because that's when they'll bring a backer through here. Don't assume just because it's a 5 tech that you don't have to do anything but just fire out right there. So I'll just put my hand on him. I'll just drive block his butt. You're just opening it, making it a bigger run through. Get in the gap. If he runs up the field like this, so wide that the tackle can't even touch him, that's a good block, y'all. Because this dude ain't going to make the play if he does this. I promise you. Never allow anything to cross your face on the gap hinge. Ever. Okay? Never, ever. No crossing of faces. All right, let's talk about the wrap drill.